Hey guys, for the last 2 weeks we've been setting a bit of a challenge to our panel of choosing one stock that they would choose that would change their life. It's a bit of a theme we've been looking at and some really interesting discussions. Ben, what's a stock that you think could change an investor's life over the next sort of 5 or 10 years?
Yep. Okay. So I'll preface this by saying for a stock to properly change your life, you probably got to take on quite a bit of risk, because, even the best quality companies probably aren't going to change your life over the next 5 years. It's something that there's some downside, but there's a lot of upside. So I've gone with a business called Paradigm Biotech.
Right.
Biotechs are companies we normally avoid like the plague. So it's quite an unusual one for me. But in the spirit of changing lives, this is one I think that could do it. That the people behind it are first class. Paul Rennie's the founder and still the largest shareholder, ex-CSL, and has brought in recent, particularly in the last year, a number of quite high-profile CSL employees across to him. They've gone through phase 1 and phase 2 trials for a repurposed drug that they have called Zilsol, which potentially could solve what has been an unsolvable but enormous issue across the globe, which is osteoarthritis and chronic osteoarthritis. Just in America, I think it's estimated that around 80 million Americans suffer from this quite debilitating disease. And Paradigm are at what is a time to get interested, I think, in biotechs, where they're about to kick off the last trial, the stage 3 trial. They're fully funded through that trial. You've got some very high quality people involved, but I don't know if I'm going on too long here, but
No.
the interesting part for me also is that typically if you come out with a blockbuster drug, you get 10 years where you get the exclusive global rights or country rights to sell that drug. And then it moves to a generic.
Right.
Now, the big difference that this company also has, if this drug is successful, and that's the big if, right? This clinical trial could be a failure, and the business would be worth very little if it were to be. But if it does succeed, and the evidence in the first 2 trials has been overwhelming that it does provide a lot of comfort. They've locked in the supplier of the product, and the FDA has actually said that the base of this drug will not be allowed to be generic because of various medical sort of reasons. So it significantly extends the lifetime of exclusivity. And they're also finding there's a lot of they've got 2 or 3 other trials that, this drug has been around since the 60s. It's been used to treat other conditions. So we know it's safe, which is one of the things that can go wrong in these trials. It's well tolerated. It's just, will it be proved in a much broader population size to ease the pain around osteoarthritis? And if it does, this company will be worth multiples upon multiples of where it's currently trading.
Fantastic. All right, a great little company there. And Mathan, you actually kicked off this series with Gaurav, so you've come up with a second one. I love your work.
Yeah, I've taken a complete opposite spectrum. On the first one, I went for IGO, which we've been a fan of for a number of years, and it's had a pretty good run, if I could say so myself. But I thought I'll go to the other side, like Ben, and pick something that's probably on the high risk end, and it's probably going to have a tough couple of years before it proves itself. But I think you've got to look at what it could be rather than what it is now. And that's what I'm looking at, Bluechiip, BCT. I've been looking at this stock for a number of years, and a good part of 10 years for that matter. But the whole concept behind it is it's about transportation of health science and life science samples, the ability of their chip to track where it is, what temperature it's stored, and the whole history of it. And so the beauty of it is you can see how much logistics that are growing and you just put this chip in with it, and it kind of controls, or well, basically documents where it is, what temperature it's been through time, and keep track of all of that. I just don't think it's just that sector. I think I've been looking at this as this business evolves. I just think the overall blue sky of where this industry that could be in the transport logistics, where this could play into, I think it's massive. Now, of course, this is still in the early stage. It's still trying to do deals. It's trying to get revenue. It is, proving the thematic. That'll take time. So I'm still on the books looking at it, and I think this is one to keep it on your watch list. When this does start to get traction, get a few more contracts, get that next stage up, that's when you want to jump on. I think every time the market gets excited, and it's happened a couple of times in the last decade, the stock runs 5, 6, 10 times. So the reality is there is a large scale upside to it, but of course these things take time. Just like biotechs, as Ben was saying, I've followed biotechs, usually takes a decade to prove what they are.
Yep.
So this has been around for a long time. It's in the right areas. I think the thematic works well. If you think about what's happening with the pandemic, I think the transport logistics with things that are linked to temperature, whether it's food, health, all of these things will be connected at some point. So there's a lot of things that it can play into. So I think it could be one of those things that over time could become a massive play.
Okay, all right, great suggestion there. So Paradigm and Bluechiip